so much how Intel itself will directly impact in terms of employee opportunities, but what it will do is have an impact on other businesses coming around because of the people moving to the Crawford County area. There's going to be at least 3,000 jobs or more. There's going to be, I believe, at least 6,000 construction workers in building it. There also, I've read, there might be some satellite chip places around like Mansfield. So I just wanted to get the committee's kind of input on what we could do. There's, in these articles, there's people we can reach out to from Intel, but I also, just before the meeting, I did get the email regarding the person that is going to be here Friday from 6 to 8. And I did print that out, sorry. It's a meet and greet with David Zach, and he's the Economic Development Director for the Crawford County Partnership, and he'll be at the Fox Winery on Friday from 6 to 8 for a meet and greet, and it says that it'll be a great opportunity to meet with him and discuss your economic development goals for Galion. So it also says that if you can't attend, then to reach out for him for like a one-to-one introduction. So discussion, since I'm new, is I don't know what has already been done to prepare what's in the plans. I was on the website for Crawford Partnership for Education and Economic Development today. There's lots of good information and resources there. So I think I'd like to try to, move forward in what we can do to make Galion, the city of Galion, an attractive place for this large company that is greatly going to impact the state of Ohio.
Well, when I heard that they were coming, that's, my thoughts exactly was that, wasn't going to be confined to that small New Albany radius. It was going to, expand out, and certainly Galion was in that. People commute to Columbus without batting an eye.
Right.
So even regardless of California, they're used to driving that. And I also wondered what that effect would have. So I'm glad you brought it up. Thinking about it is as far as I got. So thanks for doing some legwork on it. But certainly we need to find out what ancillary services Intel needs to that. I mean, they're making the chip factory. All right, we're not going to have a mini chip factory here. However, components, whatever. I'm so ignorant on what their requirements would be, but there's got to be, something that, so pursuing that is absolutely a great idea. I think if Mr. Zach, you said, is going to be here for the sip and greet, I'm assuming it's a sip and greet at the winery.
So I think that would be a good start, and I also think communicating with the economic development individuals in Richland County and USARS, I was going to take the opportunity to reach out to the person in the article. I haven't yet, but I certainly was going to, and see, maybe kind of what their plans were, and then bring it back to the committee to see what we can do and what is needed in our city to help with that.
Sure.
I believe the construction is starting in 2023 with a finish date around 2025 is my understanding.
that's pretty much where it is. I think that, to kind of piggyback on Doc Felder's thing, yeah, there's going to be obviously the initial factory, I'll use that term, but then there's also the different tier levels, which refers to supply levels, because you have folks that are going to be supplying this to them, that to them, whatever, and that's different levels that spans out. Those are opportunities for bringing interest in the community. We have already done a lot of things in this community to try to encourage businesses to come here. We created the entire community as for economic opportunity. We've also tried to reduce the amount of regulation that, or update, I should say, in some of the regulations that may have been good at the time, but wasn't necessarily a item that we need now. One of the things that I think, as Dr. Felder mentioned, is right now we are having people that come to this community that work in Columbus. Okay. The thing, what I've heard, talking to a few, because I've got a couple on my road, that they like Galion because of one, the fact that it is a small community in the sense of low crime. Cost factor is low here. And that includes utilities and all the other amenities. The 30 corridor, which is going this way, but we have the 598 corridor, which is a main drag through here. I think to us here, one of the things that we've really, and we've all been talking about this off and on now for a little while, is the opportunity to, we need more housing in the community at various levels. If we don't, that's one of the things that is, as I talked to somebody, a realtor the other day, and they're literally, they put a house on the market today, and it's less than 30 days later, they're closing on a lot of these places of any appreciable. So the thing that's going to stifle that to some extent, in my opinion, is the fact that to build a house now is approximately 20 to 25% higher than it was before the virus hit. Now, hopefully, that will change in the near future. But again, that's a stifling effect for anybody that's wanting to develop property or, especially new housing, as well as the older housing. We've had a lot of older housing in the community. I know with Law and Ordinance Committee that I chair, we've been working on the issue of duplexes in the community and stuff in certain areas. Again, I think a overall package, I think we've been working on it, but again, it's something that it's a work in progress, for lack of a better term.
I know driving around this weekend, I feel like I've seen more for sale signs on some existing homes, and I think what you might see is as the prices go up, some of the people that have been there that have 50, 100,000 equity, I honestly feel like they may use that as a way to retire or, make a profit. And the existing houses, I think is going to be an opportunity for new people to come.
Yeah.
So, I just saw more for sale signs than I'd seen in a while. So I'm thinking, well, that might be a, kind of a good thing because either people are retiring or whatever, but maybe there's going to be more existing homes. And then my understanding is there's is there plans for another apartment building complex?
We're trying to reignite the construction of buildings 3 and 4. We're not there. There'd be, if that project was ready to go back to the bank, ready to start again, there'd have been a ESID ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't one tonight, so it's not ready yet.
And then there was a senior housing.
Yeah, that we were nosed out on that. Our project did not get funded. There was a similar project in Mount Gilead that got funded, and we're following up with the company that brought the idea of applying for the funds to understand it better, but it's highly competitive, and we did not get funded this round. So that's probably a collective sigh of relief, I would think, at Aspen, which we had enough people from Aspen here saying they didn't like the idea to speak generally that condo project wasn't wild about the 3-story that had been talked about. So yeah, that's kind of it. You just have to keep working at it. So we'll continue to work at that. It'll be another year before applications for those state-administered federal tax credits we could apply for. So I don't want to get. I think the location needs to change, whether or not Aspen was there. And I'll stop my digression. It needs to be closer to. It has to be in a certain census tract. So I'm going to make an east side, west side comment, which I'm sure will be grossly misrepresented. The census tract where it makes the most sense is in walking distance for almost anyone in independent living to the commercial businesses. You could go to Tim Hortons for breakfast. Mm-hmm. You could have a sundae at Burger King after you had a pizza. That whole area right there is down near Harding Way, Portland Way, is walkable. I think a little bit of sidewalk addition could get you into Galleon West. So really looking at that type of project more on a patio home layout on city-owned property at what's called the trail site near the bike trail. So I'd like to see. I talked with him about that. I'm more interested in promoting that for a site for senior living than the one that, frankly, no one could walk. Like Kenny's business. I mean, you could go if you're a bowler, it'd be awesome, but there's really nothing else down there in terms of daily conveniences, cigarettes, beer, all the things an old person needs on a daily basis.
Is there like a brochure or marketing for the city of Galleon, like to promote Brownella or any of the things?
That's it. I really want to comment on the Intel stuff. I'm so bad at getting sidetracked. I think there are plenty of organizations, many of which are funded with taxes, that they ought to have something like that. And it's our understanding that the Experienced Galleon's upcoming big expenditures on a video that they've been working on for a while. So is there a brochure? Not really. Are there some multimedia things? Yeah. The partnership stuff, people have varying opinions about. It's high quality in terms of but I'm not sure it would cause anybody to say, yeah man, Crawford County, that's the place for me. So that's my candid opinion on that. So.
Well, I think.
Go ahead.
I think it would be a good idea to attend this and get see what he has to say, and then maybe just start talking to people and getting ideas, and just continue to look at what we can we can offer. And I think the articles, what they're emphasizing is to start preparing now, because when it happens, it's going to be, and you know, it's going to be a huge impact. And I think what they're saying is, let's get prepared now.
What did you wanted to say something
Yeah, I
about
want
Intel?
I want to say a bunch of stuff. Somewhat allaying your concerns that we're not doing anything. I know that article. I read that article. I thought it, and I probably know the guy who wrote it. Well, I thought it was the wrong sources talking about stuff they didn't have much of an idea about. So half the people there aren't in the positions that they were in when they were quoted.
Right.
So much for staying power, so much for what I call tinsel strength when it comes to this high pressure, high temperature environment. A lot of people, you don't have to be a snowflake, even though somebody with some metal melts it as it gets more intense. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time and we talked about a couple of things. There are two people paid at least in part. The Port Authority Director, with an eye on that, I'd say probably for the most part spending his time on working the combination lot of housing, okay? And then you have Dave, who my expectation is, given the many years he's been in the development business in Ohio, he has a lot of contacts, and I have high hopes that he'll contact the right people. That whole subject of how you go about contacting an industry like that is, I know some things about it, but I won't try to act like the expert. What I would do is do something that was done when Crossroads was first built, and that would be find out who at Intel or in the companies that Intel has hired to screen all of us mayors and council people, decide where they want to go, and begin to get an idea of what they're looking for. So we did, that's how the two Honda suppliers ended up over there. It wasn't, gee, how'd that happen? It was, there were hours of work and direct contact with the people who did those projects in advance of Crossroads even being done. The project in Cardington, a lot of people work Cardington, Utah, same thing. So that I have direct experience with that. And I think, I said this earlier today, Honda promised a lot, and I think candidly over-delivered. I mean, they delivered more than what they promised when they started. I have some caution about, not that Intel won't start something, but it may not blow up as big as the people who have their careers at stake on it. There was a similar project, I can't think of the chip company, up in Wisconsin. It's the big deal. And it has not, they've got about half of what they had expected. So I think we need to use that as experience.
Sure.
Okay. I got just a couple more main points. One is that I believe there are two opportunities, two plays in this Intel sweepstakes. The first one is what you pointed out, and they pointed out in the article, a relative close proximity to the main plant. So I think it's conceivable that when it builds out, that some of the Intel employees will find a community, semi-rural, remote, relatively solid schools as a place that they would want to locate. Okay. I think, however, that in this sweepstakes, which communities, succeed in a large way and which one just get kind of what happens, has a lot to do with quality of life. And you have to have something that distinguishes your community from other communities when it comes to what young families or young professionals, a lot of these people, might be looking for in a small town. And so, just when some people thought the specter of the Free Center was dead and never to be heard of again, I'm making the case tonight that if you want to have a quality of life that is appealing to this type of company, forward-looking, that could really help us. I'm going to talk one more minute about the Free Center. I think it got whipped into something that wasn't. It was like gale force winds. It wasn't a tornado. It got whipped, and a lot of it had to do because some of the most, the strongest believers in the project, their focus slipped from what we can do to provide quality of life opportunities for families and kids and old middle age and fit older people for Crawford County, for Gallion, Colonel Crawford, Crestline, for this area. And we got all excited about the prospects of thousands of people coming here. And I've said for several years that's really not why I was interested to start with. It's not where the city started on that. And I think that is primarily why you lost, why there's a lot of undercurrent of lack of support. Well, it'll never make it, this thing will. Well, it depends on, if you make it into a travel sports palace, I would agree with that, where it probably isn't going to make it. Mm-hmm. But if it is a quality of life thing that many other communities 40 miles away from New Albany don't have. I mean, Sunbury's going to have one. It's going to hop up in front of our eyes. Something's going to happen down in Mansfield. I don't know. I tend to think the market for our own kids getting more opportunities is as big as the hope of a big travel sports palace. So that's one, if we want to be in the bedroom residential sweepstakes around Intel, we better have something. We have a hell of a disc golf course though, so never mind. That'll take care of all needs. It is hectic.
But we do. It's number 14.
It is really cool, and that is a self-deprecating joke at the whole. So
where are
I think that we're fixing to spend some of to answer where are we on the Free Center?
Yeah, because maybe it could just be reintroduced based on your points that I think are really good.
I never wanted to let it die, Melissa. We really, after November, a close vote in favor of proceeding cautiously turned into, you don't have 4 votes while you're talking about it. So I haven't said much about it. We've continued to work on it. And I hope some of the people who really believe in it will get together and will find, as they say, common ground on what this is about to begin with, and following through on it. So, Mike, I'm going to keep persisting.
That's all right.
Okay, so that's one. So the one way, one opportunity, one play on this Intel thing is what I just went on. The other thing it's in council to decide where the priorities lie, and that's the development of the 3061 interchange. Mm-hmm. I think our best opportunity is to play to our strengths at assembly and fabricating. That's where a lot of our labor force is and has been for a while. And I see us I see us as trying to recruit customers of Intel. I don't see us supplying, rail cars full of blanks that are going to go down there and be stamped out. I don't think that's places with forges and foundries, I don't know enough about the technology, but where I do think we have a great opportunity is 30. It's a different, you can get east to west. Where they're at, outside of 70, it's hard to go east to west in the greater Columbus area. So I kind of like that. 1 or 2 more points. It slipped by. I was at a wedding a couple weeks ago, and I met somebody from Avon Lake. I just chatted with people. And this woman didn't even know about the Ford plant. She was real excited about high school rugby. She had a nephew playing. that she wanted to talk about that, but she didn't even know about the Ford plant. That is a big deal up there. The reactivation or the restart of the electric vehicle, Ford's electric vehicle. So I think that's something to keep an eye on with that same idea. We can assemble stuff that controls the batteries or controls these systems, and maybe that's our play. All right. Those who are going to succeed in that part of what Intel has for us need developed sites. And it's been the mid-'80s, late 80s, when the last industrial facility was put in the county, and we needed one. Like 10 minutes after that was done, we needed to start a new one. There was a misfire during the Strickland administration when they had a relatively large industrial park grant program. And Galleon, under one of the city managers, failed to apply for the funds. It's really kind of a bad day in the history of city government during that post-financial collapse era. 61 and 30 has two large parcels. Combined, it's really it's a couple hundred acres. And we have been working for several years with the owner of the parcel nearest 30. And he tragically, or I guess for his family tragically, unfortunately for us, he got COVID and boom, died pretty quick. So that parcel, that one nearest 30, is in some state of probate or estate, and so we're keeping an eye on it without, hanging out at the as they sort through their issues. And then the other large parcels, a little farther away, some think is actually a better piece of property for a reason I won't go into. And the owners of that property are getting to the point where they're divesting of their estate, their real estate, cashing in. And that's a good thing, and maybe an opportunity for us. On the second parcel, my guess is that they'll price it at a farm auction price. So it won't be this like what has happened out at Brant Road, where the owners out there think that property is worth $100,000 an acre. It's just not.
Yeah, right.
You can see it's not because nobody bought it for that.
Right, it's been for sale. Right.
Yeah. So their attitude is it's paid for. We don't have to. They're a really great family that I'm talking about now, but they're less. They don't need to sell it. They're not. They've been awesome in terms of bike path and working out that. So I don't in any way want to be critical of them, but. So we need an industrial facility out there. And the issue that council's going to have to look at is how we provide sewer to that area. It's been annexed for a long time, and it has water line, but it doesn't have sewer. And there's an issue with the roadway access that needs work on. It's, the road is not large enough. You think in your mind's eye, there's a service road that runs parallel to 30 if you're going to Mansfield. And that roadway is not wide enough to be, so it's a private drive that would have to be improved to be used as the primary access into that industrial facility. So we've been working on that one for a while. It's in one of the county's opportunity zones. We have not really understood how to use that opportunity zone status to trigger investment and really get that going. So someone, probably people in this room, are going to have to get behind putting in sewer facilities out there. And then I think you could actively market it. There's a lot of really good opportunity for Intel related and non-Intel related development along 30.
Well, I know I was reading about some of the incentives for new businesses coming. It's on the website.
Yeah.
And is there, I mean, obviously with whatever business would come or the shared, you know, responsibility.
Right.
In terms of, you know, and I guess, what the business is going to get back, what, you know, from the city, in terms of whatever, I don't know if we do tax breaks or whatever,
Yeah.
shared responsibility to make
Yeah.
it attractive.
Mike was talking about the
Yeah.
CRA that
Right.
we put in place covers the whole city. So
Okay.
that is there.
So we.
Yeah, I also think, you know, the other thing, we're not marketing to a specific client now, but there's the local income tax credit
Mhm.
that we've used a couple times, I think effectively. I mean, they haven't been the kind of project that we would think could happen here. But, and then there's just one more thing, because 3061
Mhm.
is a ways off. 4 or 5 years, probably, all things considered. I wish it wasn't the case. But the out at 598 and Brant Road, there'll be a new building, spec building, built without a client, but speculating someone will want it. And I think that gives us a immediate industrial or warehousing building to market, whether it's for Intel or not. I think that we might be a little early with that building, but that will start this fall, and by the end of 23, kind of timing up with some of that,
Good.
it'll be finished. And if we pursue it correctly, it'll be sold before it's done. That's my hope.
Okay.
So, you know, one more thing. One of the things that happened in the change of personnel, the Port Authority director coming on and the new partnership director coming on, is that those two guys, or one primarily and one secondarily, need to develop a rapport with the owners of the old Pico area.
Mhm.
And so that is something I've asked them both to do, is meet these owners and understand what their intent is. We'll get to the bottom of it, but I would strongly prefer that the building that is being financed in part by the public is for sale as well as for lease.
Mhm.
And I'll just stop there. They would have a different point of view in what they're looking for out of a client than maybe we would. I want large capital investment with relatively large number of employees, sort of manufacturing stuff. The owner might be indifferent to that. A 10-year lease with something that is lighter manufacturing or warehousing, but fewer employees might meet their longer term vision better than it would meet ours. So I'm hopeful that we can, as they say, get it listed for either sale or lease.
And that's, is that started construction?
No, I think right now it's where all the dirt from the roadway project is stacked. But no, I think it's September. I've been told and then there are a couple of things that get to Mike's point about the CRA, and that is my expectation is that council would be asked to give a fairly large abatement, and anything above 75% has to go to the school board. So we're going to have a couple narrow bridges or hop, skip, and a jump across stones to get across that river or whatever. So I'm sure we'll begin to hear about that late this year. It would likely come through this committee.
Okay.
So I think that, to summarize, there are immediate quality of life things that we can do to distinguish Galion from other communities who want to be in the Intel bedroom sweepstakes. And we can do that without causing young professional athletes. This travel stuff has gotten less and less I'm less and less amused by that as each year goes by. What it's taken on.
Mhm.
Little robots doing what their daddies and mommies want them to do, instead of learning about recreation and sports to be a contributor as an adult. So I really hope the Free Center gets built and it has much more local activity, local groups, and I've said often, recently especially, annexed to the Y and their programming, and less of an emphasis on bringing urban, they're almost professional athletes, and with this name, image, and likeness stuff out there in amateur sports, I'm not interested in becoming a mecca for that stuff. So,
Okay.
anyways, so that is quality of life,
Mhm.
and then we really have to have a site. Whether Intel came or not,
Right.
I've been working, trying to figure out how to fund that site out there at 61 and 30.
Okay.
So it's has been, remains a top priority, and it's chasing probably $1 million worth of sewer investment. That's the, why haven't you done it yet? Well, that's the primary reason.
Okay. Well, I think we've had some good discussion about this, and thank you, the mayor, for giving us that information. And I think meeting Friday and then just continuing to educate ourselves. And I know myself, I like to read a lot of, just kind of keep up of like where the movement's going and just see what we can do.
What time was that, at Fox?
It's early.
It's,
5 to 7 or 6 to 8, something like that.
it's 6 to 8
Yeah.
on Friday. So,
I'll give you a segue, Melissa, into your next topic. David has a lot of experience, and he is supportive of Doris from his experience in Tiffin. So there you go.
okay.
There's a way to introduce the Doris.
So the next discussion item that I had asked to put on was the DORA, the Designated Outdoor Recreation Area, and a couple of things. I went to the DORA in Crestline last Thursday, and I was impressed by the organization of it, by the involvement of it, the success of it, and I was able to talk to some of the people that were involved, and I thought it was a good way to get people out and about. I also have an article or the information that Bucyrus has already adapted the DORA as well. So Crawford County, so we have Crestline doing it, and now we have Bucyrus doing it, and I think that if Galleon got involved, then I think that would I think people would stay around Galleon, because if the younger people, they're now going to go to Bucyrus for a DORA, now they're going to go to Crestline, so now they're outside of Galleon. I think that the demographics, the median age of this area is 42. I spoke with a lot of people in that age group and 25-year-olds, as a matter of fact, on the third Friday, and a lot of people's response were, I really wish that I could walk around here and have my wine or have my beer. That was, and these are people that, all different ages. So what happened is they didn't. They went back to the tap room, they went back to the places, and then they sat in there and drank, and they didn't go as much into the businesses. I did talk to one of the businesses that wasn't really for it. And she was kind of like skeptical, and she said, well, was it unruly or anything? And I said, absolutely not. I said, from 5 to 8, I mean, you can set your own times, is my understanding. Really don't, you know, it wasn't. And I said, naturally, people that want to have a beverage are going to be more apt to buy more things in your store. They're going to be more apt to eat because, you know, that's just a natural occurrence when you're drinking the beverages. And I guess I feel like Bucyrus is doing it, Crestline, so why we need to be, I guess, we need to be progressive. And I've asked the young people, would you go if there was a door? And they're like, oh, absolutely, I would love to go. I think that the third Friday, I understand, you know, there was this section with the Disney princesses and with everything, and yes, I know that there'd be some concern. That it doesn't have to be with the third Friday. So, but then again, we have Oktoberfest, and they're drinking at the beer garden. Well, they go out with their kids and go on all those rides and walk around. So I kind of feel like you can really regulate, Dora, how you want it to the benefit of this community. So why is it okay to do something like that for the people that are worried about the unruly people, when we can have special events and they can drink from 6 to 11 and then go out and walk around with all the kids and all the rides. So, you know, that's kind of, I understand that the Elks doesn't want to do it, that's fine. There's people in Crestline that didn't want to do it. And if you need 4, that's great, but my discussions were, it was successful. So I think really before people, you know, just immediately say no, that's why I went. I would suggest going to a Crestline Dora and going to a Bucyrus Dora. And they have help from the police, they have help like lots of trash cans. Like I said, it's regulated. And again, talking about tying in with the young people that are moving in, that are buying houses, that are staying here, they're going to other places. I know a lot of people go now to Crestline to Mi Cerrito because they love that restaurant. I mean, hopefully we're getting one here. But I'm just saying that's like an example. So I think it's only natural in Crawford County. If we have 2 of the other cities doing it, then why, you know? And it's same with anything else. If you really don't want to go, then don't go. You know, some people won't come to Oktoberfest because of, you know, whatever the drinking. That's fine. And you're talking about how many times a year would you do a Dora? Or you could whichever ordinance, you know, it's regulated. It's not like you're just opening the doors to, you know, drinking from 5 to 11 or whatever. They have different times. But I think that if we're going to be progressive, if we're going to keep up with the young people, then I think it's something that could help the restaurants. I mean, and you know, with the food trucks and with everything, I just think that it would. There was music there. You know, so you know, that's my opinion.
How was that organized? I mean,
What's that?
well,
I
how
have
was
some-
the Dora and Crestline?
I have some frequently asked
organized?
questions. Was I supposed to pass these out before?
You're good.
These are just some things that I printed out about Crestline frequently asked questions about Dora. And then there's also the article that I have about Bucyrus City Council approves it. And I researched all this, so I mean, it will answer your questions about how to do it and how to get it.
There is a lot of flexibility. Bucyrus is 11 to 11, They're doing it on their first Friday weekends. The other thing in the article that I thought is worth noting, but you kind of read past it, is they've been working on this for 2 years.
Right. I read that too, yes, they have.
So there is there's a history in this town. I think I learned a lot a handful of years ago about respecting the part of our community for whom alcohol consumption is not, it's not a neutral, it's a negative thing. And there is a large constituency that one would want to be mindful of. I would think it would be particularly important if we proceed after we've studied it, that we respect the proximity to some of our churches. You know, if one of the churches that didn't want public drinking, I wouldn't want to go very close to them.
And you can
So, yeah,
designate, you designate your DORA area. And like I said, it's
I wouldn't encourage it going across the tracks. So there are a couple of permit holders on the east side of the tracks that may be interested, but that makes me real anxious. I don't think, to summarize quickly, I think wait and see makes sense. I think that there is a new thing in town that surrounds us. I think it's true even in Tiffin that started last year in the fall of the year. You know, kind of see how it goes for 6 months. See if the kinds of crowds and the track record is as favorable 3 months, 4 months into it. And then people in the community who are supportive of it, yourself or other people, develop the support among two key business groups. One are the alcohol permit holders, the other one is the other businesses uptown. We've done a little bit of informal checking, and one individual, one entity uptown that I would think would not be in favor of it is kind of neutral. Their attitude is, if it works, you know, okay, we'll give it a try. Now, whether or not you'll be able to go into their stores, you know, and peruse the stores with alcohol, that would remain to be seen. But they're apparently not blocking it. Matt talked about it.
And there's over 100 counties that have DORA in Ohio, and
there's like 300 towns or whatever. There's 88 counties.
Is this the first year for Crestline?
The first night was Thursday.
Oh, first night.
Very first night. It got rained out.
Okay.
The 1st of July, that Friday is the first one in these
Okay.
there's
Okay.
The other footnote too is, and I agree with the mayor in the sense of knowing a little bit more about it and waiting and seeing, because of the fact that this essentially started in approximately 2007. So it's not like it's been going on for 20 years or anything like this.
Little towns under 35,000, we're reading this before we started, that was 17 when smaller towns were
allowed.
I know
given
it's
the
been
same.
successful in Miamisburg and Athens County, but then Athens County is, but you know, I'm just saying, it's what as people that have gone to other colleges and other cities that have been to them, and
Well, I think that the other thing is, and was mentioned, was the fact the other business concerns uptown. Restaurants, are they willing to allow somebody to come in their establishment with alcohol? You may find that there aren't. They may find that some are neutral, some are fair. I think we're in a very early sense of knowing what the community downtown would like to see. And as the mayor indicated, we do have a population that believes that there's an issue when you start mixing alcohol with general public consumption. And that's something that should be respected. So I know this is something that was brought up to Law and Ordinance Committee a couple of weeks ago. So again, I think there's Crestline just had theirs. I'm not sure when Bucyrus is going to have theirs. I would be curious.
First.
No, yeah,
First.
yeah. No offense to the folks at Tiffin, but while I understand their dynamics of saying, well, you know, it's still a college town, and I've been around college towns. I lived outside of Bloomington, which is a big college town in Indiana. The dynamics are different, no matter how you work with it, because of the college influence. But again, that's not to say that this wouldn't work. I think we should be mindful of it and obviously make sure we've talked to everybody that's concerned.
Well, and I can tell you that there were businesses that were closed that didn't participate, but you know what it did for me was I was window shopping. I didn't know those businesses were there until I walked from the hub down there. So it's okay if they shut their doors, but their business and whatever is in their window is also, you know, oh, I didn't know that was there. You know, and I think it's safe to say that the businesses in the Galligan area would love to see more business.
Oh, certainly.
And I, you know, and it's okay if they don't want to participate, but like I said, that it was kind of an awakening. Like I didn't know that one business was there, and I thought, well, maybe I'll go back there when it's open.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I'm curious. I didn't know. What would you say as a level activity on the street during the time that you were there?
people just walking around, socializing. There was music at the hub. There was the lady that was doing the headshots. I mean, did not see anything unruly. It just
No, actually, I was, yeah. No, I was curious to know the amount of participation that you viewed.
Well, talking to people, see, because I work, so I got there a little bit later, but the people that I talked to, it was very busy from 5 to like at least 7, and I didn't get there till, the end. And I talked to them for that reason, saying, I wasn't able to get out of work, and that's why I planned on going and seeing how the other ones. Because I think the way that you learn is you go and you see.
Sure.
And even inside the places, there was lots of people, like Macerito and the hub, and people sitting outside watching the music. There was quite a few people.
I've been waiting all week for photographs. I really expected that as a gauge. There's a gallery, there's an event, car show or anything. There's pictures of kinds of people there. I have not seen that. I don't know if they failed to let the local media know about that, but I haven't seen it in either the TF or Crawford County Now. I imagine the Advocate will cover it a lot, but anyway.
Well, with that, if you'd like, we can find out when the next ones are. If you're interested in going, I'll, I think that it would be, good to see what the other communities in Crawford County are doing, so.
Agree.
And to keep it kind of wait and see, not wait too long, keep it as a discussion. I'd like to see it come to fruition by next year. So with that, because I know it does take a while, but I think we should all keep an open mind about, being progressive and also being respectful of those that don't want to participate. And that's okay, because you're going to find that in any community.
I think both topics involve different definitions of quality of life. And on this second one, the thing that I was surprised a few years ago when the discussion of alcohol in public places is the level of opposition from at that time the Gallion Area Ministerial Association. So if there is a group that comes together and says, okay, we're going to get this DORA done, that would be one of the places that you ought to go and explain this to begin with, because I was surprised by the lack of live and let live among that part of our community. And that's all I can say.
I feel like there's hopefully change is coming.
Go to Gamma. Go to Gamma with somebody who is an active congregant at some of the more active churches that are represented at Gamma. I'm not going. And some of them will be reasonable. But I think that I was surprised a few years ago when their clout was demonstrated.
Another point that's just kind of a little obscure is walking around, I see beer cans everywhere. So they're obviously drinking on the street anyway. So we might as well make it a designated area, I don't know, that could be I'm just saying.
I feel like that it is kind of inevitable and not a bad thing, and that if we have the opportunity to guide it and control it. I mean, I just read quickly some of the questions and answers, and if I was a business, I've got the opportunity to say, no, you can't come in here with your beer. And for sure, if I'm selling alcohol, you can't come in. I mean, that's a given. So, I mean, there's, some established guidelines. I don't think it would be analogous to the Oktoberfest with beer gardens next to the Italian sausage place. The beer gardens were kind of out of sight. I'm kind of surprised at the Elks. They had no problem having a beer garden during Oktoberfest. That's another point. So it's not, a DORA is not throwing open to this street festival.
Right.
With beers next
population,
year.
Sure.
It's a much more controlled atmosphere. And so, I mean, I think that it's from the few Facebook comments, everything was positive. So, I mean, it's going to be something to pursue.
Well, and I think if you
I think we should have one by Labor Day. But that's going to be our goal.
If you limit the time, I mean, then they're going to end up, what I saw is they're going to end up in a restaurant eating because you can't, I mean, they literally at 8 o'clock it's over. So then the businesses are gonna
Yes,
benefit,
it's a
restaurants.
control.
So,
I agree.
so we'll go with Labor Day.
There's a lot of work to do.
Pickle,
I
right?
mean, you could do it by Labor Day, the,
Little social experiment.
well, I think there's a
That
lot
would be
of,
great.
I think among the advocates, and I don't consider you one of these, there's a lot of sidewalk superintending. You should do this, you should do this, you should do this. That's not, that's, I think, safe to say that the mayor's staff is not gonna do the job of these people. They're just not going to. So, all of the legwork. Huh?
And nor should you.
No, I don't think so. So anyways, that's all I got.
What would you like,
What's that?
who and what would you like us to do?
Well, I think there's got to be, I mean, we can't go, great idea, here, have your staff take care of it.
Oh,
You know,
right,
I mean,
right.
You know,
So
I'm-
put together a,
If I thought it was a great idea, I'd have a different attitude. I'll be totally honest.
sure,
I don't think it's that great of an idea, and we've got a lot of other things going on.
I'd like to
and-
go on record as saying that Labor Day was a joke.
I know.
Okay, I was being facetious, well, I don't, you know,
I
want
know.
a lot of
Right.
It does take
Facebook
a-
commentary
understand.
that, you know.
But to ask who should do it, that we fund a group called Experience Galleon. I want
Exactly.
to
Okay.
mention that they are going to pay for the half the fireworks again this year. So some of the members believe I'm anti. I just want to do something, and so they are going to be there for the fireworks. But that's a group that would promote travel and tourism.
Right.
It's right up their alley.
mhm,
It's a great leadership opportunity for the chamber.
sure, okay,
So those are two sources of,
okay.
you know, of input. And, you know, as the mayor said, Experience Galleon is somewhat funded in part, you know, by the city.
It's totally funded by bed tax,
Okay.
designated
Sure,
by
we
city
can reach
council.
out and
Yeah,
that'd be great.
they ought to. And I think that the chambers, they're laying all the cards out. They're one of the back in the back of the room. Like, come on, you really got to do this. You really got to do this. And I've said for many times on this discussion, you ought to do something. You're the advocate of it. Accomplish it.
Okay, that sounds like a good plan. Any more discussion with the Economic Development Committee?
And I got one other quick thing, just FYI, it's in other business. From Tuesday to the end of the week, the airport was without power. We really didn't know about it at City Hall until Thursday, maybe. And it brought up the issue of the need for a generator. They really can't be out for 3 days.
Right,
And they're on First Energy, so they don't have the ability of, we can't run a line crew out and get them up and running again. So that's something we didn't, just to be thinking about in terms of the airport. We can't let them be so vulnerable. They couldn't pump any fuel. They were pretty much knocked out of business. So we need to look at a generator for those emergency needs.
is there is Life Flight involved? Do they participate?
I think they probably lost power too.
Okay,
But that building is owned by the CIC.
They may have a generator, I don't know.
The life touch, I don't know.
okay. So, I guess the question would be is,
We gotta look
How
at,
much,
we'll
what
continue,
kind,
yeah,
what to
we'll
support it
continue,
all.
we'll be back
But
to
I
this
totally-
committee with that.
I agree with
and-
you, that
it's
they
one of-
should not have been without.
Yeah,
without
and we
power.
didn't think that, First Energy, they were stretched too thin.
Mhm.
When you're at the end of the line, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
At the end of the line, doesn't matter how important you are, now if we had 10 15 passenger flights a day, they probably would have had a different hierarchy and put people back on. But that's just,
And I can't tell you how many, utility trucks with Pennsylvania tags I
Yeah.
saw too. So, I mean, you know, it was just a mess there.
yep. So anyway, that's the other business part there. We found out we sprung a leak in our airport operating.
I wonder how much FAA would be able to.
I don't know, it's a good question.
Yeah.
Really good question. Not that far along. What you would have to do is amend our 10-year plan with them
Yeah,
and introduce that. I don't think it's on the plan, and then get them to accept to have us put that in their line show.
and I think the reason probably wasn't on that plan was the fact that, you know, how many times has this happened?
I think that's probably it. Until you have a multi-day outage, probably it just wasn't seen as a high priority need.
Yeah. I have nothing else for the committee.
Where were we with the, I know we had a discussion about with the airport, something that was needed,
Yeah,
that we,
where the weather came from, that one?
yes,
I'm still trying to figure that one out. Still working on
okay,
it. No, I think that y'all passed that. We'll be
Okay.
installing that. So
Sorry
we don't really have any
Okay.
more airport business.
okay,
Routine business, but this, I don't know what to tell you about how much it will cost. I'm not even gonna throw out a
okay.
thousands, a few thousands, I think. to
You
have
talking
this
about the
additional
generator?
power.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yes, sorry.
I got nothing.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to
Set the next meeting,
set the next meeting,
July
and the
19th.
next meeting is July 19th, 2022 at 7 p.m.
And I'll make a motion, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that motion.
Thank you, meeting adjourned. All in favor? Aye.
8:10 p.m.
I move it. Thank you for your help.